a stranger with a gun came upon 2 teens taking pictures under a rising full moon. But violence is only the beginning of this story.
Sometimes I thought, there are no miracles. Yeah, there are, and this is a big one.
I'm Amy Donaldson, and I've spent my career talking about how lives are undone by violence. The Letter is a podcast about how lives are remade. Follow The Letter at theletterpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, welcome back to Project Recovery. Our guest today is Michael B., star of Singles Work, Home Teachers, RN, and Church Ball. Did I get it right?
Yeah, RM.
RM. Did I say RN again?
I don't know.
It's okay.
I wasn't really paying
Saturday
attention.
Night Live. I mean, I'm huge in Provo right now. You don't even know.
You're huge everywhere. And
If you've laughed as an LDS person in the 90s or early 2000s, you know Michael B.
That's right. And we're talking about your descent into addiction, but more importantly, your road to recovery. So we've talked about what brought you up to lying naked in a field off of Geneva Road. Yeah. What got you there?
Gosh, I don't even know what I took that night, to be honest with you, but I know I had a mixture of things. And the week previous, from talking to a friend, which I don't really remember, we're doing acid as well, but so I may have mixed it in there. Maybe that's why I blacked out. I can't believe I woke up. And to be honest with you, and every morning when I wake up with my eyes, I think, I'm awake. I'm alive. So there's more. So whatever, I'm not sure exactly what I took completely, but when I got up, I got dressed and went home to my ex-wife's house, and she's like, "It's your son's birthday. Did you get him anything?" And something about her saying that, something just like clicked in my head, like, how in the hell did you get your first son and you don't even know it's his birthday today? And he's such a cool kid. He just got married 2 days ago. Just a cool kid. He had long hair because he loved growing his hair out thick like a woman. I thought he was a girl, but he just beautiful hair. And he was like, "It's okay if you don't get him anything as long as you're here." So I obviously I went out and got 9 million Legos, but I couldn't. The way he looked at me, I couldn't do it again. I couldn't do drugs anymore. And from that day on, I never got drunk. I would drink lightly, and I worked my way for the next year. And so 2009, June 1st, I stopped drinking. But drugs, I couldn't do it anymore. So I went and checked myself into a hotel and said, I'm just going to detox. Didn't know what I was thinking. Don't ever detox alone. Please get medical help. Because honestly, if I'd have gotten that hotel window open, I would have jumped out just to stop the pain. I bled at every hole in my body. It was the worst. When I hear people say I detoxed 3 times, like I could not do it a second time. I would keep myself from doing this. I now know why people are addicted. They don't want to go through that. It's hell.
We've heard so many people on the podcast go, I wasn't afraid of death. I was afraid of detoxing. And it makes sense. And so at that point, the addict brain takes over because you don't want to feel this pain anymore. You don't want to do this. And you know what will solve it. And so you need to detox around somebody who's going to help you, hopefully a professional, medical, because there's so many things that could and can happen when doing so. So you detox in the hotel for how many days?
About 9. And when I felt like I could get up and wash myself off from throw up and blood, I just would lay around every day, and I just kept over day after day, and no one really knew where I was. In fact, no one knew where I was, which is even dumber. It was the stupidest thing ever. Anyway, so I need help, and I was working at the time with Mitch English in Orlando, Florida. So I would go out and I would work on some of these on or off-site. I produced those little spots with them. And I met up with Lighthouse, and I started meeting with them. And when I came here, I started meeting with the Greenhouse, and which their group therapy is phenomenal. And if anyone needs a reference somewhere in Utah, the Greenhouse, for addictions especially and PTSD, it's hands down. But in my opinion, but anyway, that was the very beginning. Was this? I got to the point to where I didn't care about anyone ever, including my children, and I love my children. I've always loved my children. That's the saving grace. So when I told you before off air, I wanted one child. I had one, and I was like, I'd have 50. I fell in love for the first time when I had kids. So it just kind of was this chain of events, and I was like, I'm not sure how to do it. And I think I was telling you this case. It's so weird. So for a couple of years, I was like, man, I'm getting these craves like all the time. So I went to the greenhouse and said, man, I don't know what it is. Starts asking me questions. He goes, well, what was it like when you party? Okay, I did this. And I realized I was drinking 2 64-ounce cups of Diet Coke every day. And he's like, why don't you try not drinking Diet Coke for a week? Almost immediately they went away. And I was like, it was Diet Coke. Because I drank so much Diet Coke, it was triggering something. I can drink Diet Coke now just fine.
Well, it's a stimulant, right? You did cocaine, yeah.
So it's kind of a funny, weird connection. So I just did everything in my power to not. So I started going to 12-step programs. Anywhere I could, I would go sponsor anybody. I would go to anyone's program with them. Oh, you're going on Thursday night? I'll go with you. I would go to everything I possibly could. And and it was the first time I was around a bunch of people who not were just admittant, but I was like, oh my gosh, someone has the same problem I do from a far worse situation I've ever heard in my life, and some not. And they're so strong and so powerful. I'm like, how did you do that? I want to know how you were using 10 times as much as me. I don't even know how they're alive. I know what it does to the body, and I was dumbfounded, and I wanted that. I wanted to look back in time and go, like, I didn't do it for a week. I didn't do it for a month. I didn't do it for 3 months, 6 months. And I really, honestly, I thought if I can do a year, I'll probably do some stuff. Then I can go like another year. And that's what I was thinking. And I had
that's
no
what
idea.
the addict brain does. I mean, yeah, you're right. And I call it a test drive. I've seen so many people that I went through recovery with and people that I know who get that time behind them, a year, 3 months or whatever, and they wonder if they can still take it out for a test drive. And it never ends well. I can tell you that now. No. I've never met anybody who's been able to go back to it and be able to do it like a gentleman, as they say, drink like a gentleman, or this.
Oh gosh, they're worse. I know, because there are people I can't even be around. I had to tell people I can't be around you ever. I love you, man. I cannot ever be around you in my life ever, because I will destroy my life if I'm around you. I can't say no around you for some reason.
And there's some people that have that power over you.
Yeah.
So you started going to every AA meeting you could, going to sponsor whoever asked, and in that time, you fell in love again.
I did. It's funny. I met my wife at a gas station. I'm old school, man. I'm not meeting chicks online. This is not my thing. If I want to look at their face and go like, yeah, they're not interested. I want to take a no and whatever,
Tinder.
Yeah,
gas station.
Did you say Grindr?
I don't know why it popped in my head.
I don't even understand the whole concept of like Tinder, like swiping. And then if I get this right, you say you like this picture, and if that person likes your picture, it matches you, right?
Yeah, you got a connection. I've never been online dating.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And then I got to go filter the bunch of chicks and degrading a bunch of them. Like, I don't know what I look at is not what I like the most anyway. Obviously, what I care about is how I feel, and I think before it was very much based around like the stereotypical when I was younger. But I can't feel a certain way. I need to feel connection. I need to feel love. I need to feel something. So we sat at a gas station and talked for hours, literally, in the parking lot, and didn't even get her number. I was like, "There's no way we won't meet again." I've never met anyone like this.
You just met her at a gas station, talked for hours, forgot to get her number.
Yeah, first she's like, hey, you're the guy from the Home Teachers. I was like, come on, man. Don't do it.
Not you too.
Thing. And she's like, it's weird. I literally just finished watching the movie. And I come here and you're standing here. And I was like, what? That is weird. So we went out and we talked about everything. We didn't once talk about relationship stuff. Not once. Didn't ask if I was divorced. Didn't ask anything. We just talked about everything. So I was afraid because I know I've been divorced for a while. And I said, we'll run into each other again. There's no way. There's no way we wouldn't. And 5 months later, we did. And I haven't left her face since. I mean,
and she is
Fernanda Bohm,
owner of the Bohm Boutique.
Yeah, she and her sister. It's her maiden name, Bohm. Yeah.
And things are going wonderful for you.
Oh yeah. She's very influential. My best friend Nate and my wife were my girlfriend at the time. Probably the most influential people on the earth, for sure.
I want to talk to you real quick before we let you go, because your situation was similar to mine, being that you had a certain amount of fame, being on TV and movies and radio and all that stuff, and when it all fell apart, how did that affect you?
Well, number one, I realized that I have no friends, and that all the people that quote-unquote love me, they didn't care. No one visited me in jail. No one talked to me. No one texted me. No one called. One person texted me. It was the funniest thing. Dude, I don't care if you stole it or not. Whatever. Just you can come to my house anytime. You're just fine. Dave Nibley. And we didn't really talk much about it because I was afraid, because I always looked at him really highly. And so I was afraid to tell him stuff. But he was just, it was like the nicest text. And my buddy, I was going to go into a bar one night. And he's like, do not go in that bar. I was like, I can't take it. And I've been dating my girlfriend for a couple of years. Who's now my wife. And I was like, I can't do it. I'm so stressed. I know if I just drink just a little, it'll go away. And I sat in the car outside of a bar downtown Salt Lake. And he's like, please. And he could just answer my phone call. I'm like, I don't want to hear his voice because he'd love me too much. And and I fell asleep. And 4 a.m, I woke up, and here's a million texts I missed. And you know when you start to text somebody and their bubble comes up? Because second I texted, you see that bubble coming up? And he just sat there by his phone until I woke up. I was like, whatever you did, I fell asleep. And I've never had that drive to go sit in front of a bar ever since. And that's what changed my life. I was really fortunate that when I recovered, I realized I could create a friendship with a person that's true and honest and full of light. And everything I'd done before, it's not that we weren't friends. There was zero depth. Nothing. I don't care. I care if it's good. If it's good, you want to get me to that party? You're my best friend. You need a ride home? Hell no. I can't get, well, probably most of them couldn't give me a ride home anyway because they're drunk. But anyway, it was, I needed all that. I needed love. I needed life. I needed light. I needed all that. And I didn't think it was available. I didn't think I deserved it. I didn't think that I could earn it. And that's really changed my life. My wife really kind of watched me kind of go through this whole process. My kids watched me change from being this idiot in jail to who I am now, and which I thought was going to ruin their lives, and it did not ruin their lives. Thank goodness.
You know what, Matt? We've said it 100 times on the podcast, and I think that's what Michael B. found. What's the opposite of addiction?
It's connection every time.
And it's, most people think the opposite of addiction is not doing it, but it's not. It's connection. It's finding somebody who sees you for who you are and is accepting, loving, and wants nothing but good things to happen for you. And it sounds like you found that in your wife. And it sounds like you found that in some of your friends now.
Yes. Yeah, thank goodness. Because for a long time, in fact, it's kind of funny. When City Weekly did this big paper, this story on me, and I didn't ask them to do a story on me. For some reason, they threw it into a story because they thought, it's so weird. This Michael B. was this Mormon guy, and then he gets excommunicated, and he's going to go join again? Because, the City Weekly is an anti-Mormon paper, and this guy just thought it was fascinating that I wanted to, and I was like, and it took me years to go back and do that. And so a friend of mine said, you should talk to him. He's pretty open. You don't have to just do a story because it may not be all true. Thank goodness, because he would have made the bad stuff way worse and the good stuff not even close. So we did this story or whatever, and I didn't want my daughters or my mother to read this crap. I did not want to do it. He's going to do the thing anyway. He's going to write it out anyway. But in becoming this kind of eye-opening, and they said, give me names of friends, people you work with, people you don't like you, and I put Darren Tufts as a person that doesn't like me because I never thought he liked me.
He's the Quest guy.
Yeah, Quest guy. And I always loved Darren.
Yeah.
Let me just say that. I loved Darren, but I thought he didn't like me. I don't know what he thought about me. Anyway, that thing came out, and he's like, hey, I think you're one of the greatest dudes, man. I felt so bad, and I become closer friends because of that. I thought, I don't know why I thought, my brain didn't work, man. I could not see reality when I was addicted. That's the worst part, is that you're not living in reality. And that becomes your new reality. And when you take all that stuff out, you're like, my gosh, this is a beautiful place without all that crap. And I don't have to be controlled. And I can go out my day without, quote unquote, help to get my day going. I don't care if I'm tired. I don't care how tired or exhausted or my brain doesn't work, whatever, I'm not going to fall to that life again. I can't. I won't. I guess I can. Let me rephrase that. Anybody can, but I won't. And it's work every day.
And I think you're bringing up a great point. I want to throw this out there and see what you think. That, you've mentioned that when you were in the throes of your addiction, using for all those years, and you thought you had all these friends, people that you partied with and worked with and whatever, and then you got into jail and you really didn't have anybody visit, you started to feel really lonely. But part of that is you use the word superficial, and I think that when a person you're not good with yourself, like when you haven't processed what all of us need to process, whatever our traumas are, when you're masking who you really are with drugs and alcohol, then you only create superficial relationships. And I think a lot of people get resentful that nobody shows up for them, but that it sounds to me like you've had the other side of the experience, which is once you got clean and sober, once you started to work through your own stuff and become the genuine version of who Michael B. is, all of a sudden you realize, oh man, there are people there. And I can make a genuine connection. It doesn't have to be this superficial stuff. And people start showing up for you like you start showing up for them. And would you say that's the process?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, like in that in-between stage, they get resentful. Nobody showed up for me. And it's not until they realize I've got to do my own work that the true friendships either develop or become apparent.
Yeah, in fact, the greatest thing that ever happened to me was taking it all on the jaw. I got put in jail for something I wasn't guilty of. It doesn't matter. I'm guilty of a million things I could be put in jail for. But it doesn't matter. Losing everything, losing my family, all these things now I look back and think, if I would have never faced it, and everything would have continued to be superficial. And I realized, well, really no one does give a damn about me. But then I finally realized people are afraid. And they tell me that. I was afraid to be around you, man. I'm afraid of what you do or say. And I finally took on that responsibility, which was hard because I want to point a finger. I want to blame somebody. I want to blame that woman. But I have to forgive her. I have to forgive everyone around me. I have to forgive myself. And when I did all that, all of a sudden I started seeing more clearly. And I realized I don't know if I ever took anything on the chin before, ever. I blamed everything for everything on someone else. And everything in my life, I'll take, and I'm able to take it, and that's the difference between superficial and authentic. And being an authentic person means you deal with what's yours to deal with.
You took ownership.
Yeah, take ownership. Yeah, right. Which is hard. I wasn't doing anything for myself, and then when I got clean, all of a sudden people feel more comfortable. And it's ironic now, whenever it's something really treacherous, I'm sure this happens to you, emotional, physical, spiritual, drugs, alcohol, whatever, the first person they go to is me. I'm feeling way lost. And then sometimes I have no experience now. Holy crap. I can't even imagine what that's like. But they feel more comfortable because they think and I'm not going to judge them. But I can tell you right now, for all you out there that have family and friends or whomever, do not judge those people. You have to love them no matter what, because one day they're going to turn a corner, and they need to go back to love. And unfortunately, I did not have a lot of love to go back to, but there were some, and then it developed and more, and because you're going to be a person everyone's going to go to. And I'm sure that happens to you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think I'd ever be doing a podcast on recovery. I can tell you that for sure. But I'm so happy and grateful that I am. And I've learned so much. And I've learned so much from listening to your story and so much doing this podcast. So I want to say thank you for sharing your story, because I know you don't have to do this. And the fact that you're willing to do this is going to help so many people out there, because what we are is giving people hope that they can turn that corner, that their life can be better. I always tell people right now, it's not a fun road. It's not an easy road. And it only works if you work. And that's the only way to get it. And so if I can talk to people, I'll stop. I will answer the phone. I will answer emails, Facebook, whatever you've got. If I can help, I want to give it back, because when I need it, somebody gave it to me. And so that's what I want to do.
Same. That's good of you to do that.
Dr. Matt, anything?
I just really appreciate it, Michael B. I think that I love being in the industry I'm in. I don't know, healthcare. I love helping people. I love my job. But a person like you and Casey have touched people in a different way and have a lot of influence. And I know that people listening to your story are going to be inspired by that. I hope they take away the idea of being authentic. How can I be a more authentic person? Because authenticity leads to real relationships. And love, I think that's another great takeaway, is that love really does conquer all. It sometimes takes a while, but that's what we need in order to find that connection with our family and our friends. And so I thank you so much, because I know there are people listening who needed to hear that message today, and they're like, man, if that funny, happy guy from the silly Mormon movies could go through all of that and be where he's at today, maybe I can do that too.
Yeah, and they can. It is... I know it's like to feel like it's not possible, and it's possible. You can do anything you put your mind to, and you're right. Every time you say you put the work in, it's the one thing I didn't want to do. Put the work in.
Nobody does.
Gosh, when you're done, you're like, thank goodness I put the work in.
Yeah.
You don't get it till after it's done.
Right.
I'm going to leave you with this, because I hear it a lot in the recovery world. Love the person, hate the disease. And sometimes it's hard to distinguish between the two, but really the person needs love, and it's okay to hate the disease, because I know I do. Hey, you're listening to Project Recovery, a KSL podcast brought to you by useonlyasdirected.org, with the 3-part solution: speak out, opt out, and of course, throw out.
The contents of this program are for informational purposes only. The program is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, licensed therapist, or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you've heard on this program. KSL does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, physicians, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned on the program. Reliance on any information provided on the program is solely at your own risk.